Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. My name is Elizabeth and I am your friendly, educated hillbilly, hillbilly from Kentucky. Today we're going to dive into some wild crime stories from our neck of the woods. So grab you a drink and sit down and let's get to it. All right. So, this first one that I want to tell y'all about is very disturbing. I know I've said interesting several times, but this one is very disturbing. And I have not heard of this um, case at all until I went looking. And then once I went looking, I found it. And then I went and looked at the newspaper, our local newspaper, to see what they had said about it. And our local newspaper had not discussed it at all. So I'm going to pull up a couple of these and we're going to read them and see what you think about it. Okay, so let's show one. All right. Now, this says Perry County prosecutor accused of providing favorable treatment in exchange for rugs. You guys can kind of make sense of what I'm saying here. There's a few words that we have to camouflage, so to speak. And so, okay. Perry prosecutor accused of providing favorable treatment in exchange for rugs and schmecks. The Perry County Commonwealth's attorney. Now, this is the attorney who takes care of all of the big cases, all of the in circuit court. So this is all the felonies. He charges for felonies. Okay. The Perry County Commonwealth's attorney has been arrested after being accused of using his position to obtain schmecks and rugs from defendants his office was prosecuting. Scott Blair, 51, is charged in federal court with one count of honest services wire fraud. An affidavit filed by the investigating officer alleges that Blair would communicate with defendants over Facebook Messenger and would offer to help them in exchange for math, we're going to call it math, and sexual favors. Investigators obtained a search warrant for Facebook to provide Blair's message history. During a review of the messages, they identified 5 victims who Blair allegedly pressured to provide him with math or sexual favors. Now, this is the prosecutor. One of the victims, later interviewed by investigators, said that he was initially given probation and drug court in exchange for providing Blair with sexual favors. However, he said he became uncomfortable with the arrangement and began to refuse Blair's demands, at which time he was terminated from drug court and sent back to jail. That's a common theme that we're hearing a lot from around here, isn't it? I'm so glad we're starting to have bigger eyes come in on our area. Blair was arrested Friday and lodged in the Laurel County Correctional Center. He is scheduled to answer the charges in U.S. District Court in London on Monday. Now, this was written in June 18th, 2024. So he has already been sentenced. So let me go over here and grab this one for you. This one is from the United States Attorney's Office, Eastern District of Kentucky. Okay. Let me get over here to it again. Okay. This was written on September 5th. So that was at the beginning of this month, 2024. London, Kentucky. And remember, this is from the United States Attorney's Office, this press release. The former Commonwealth's attorney for the 33rd Judicial Circuit of Kentucky, Scott Blair, 52, of Hazard, Kentucky, was sentenced to 54 months in prison on Thursday by U.S. District Judge Robert Weir for committing honest services wire fraud. According to his guilty plea agreement, between April 2020 and March 2024, 4 years, Blair knowingly and intentionally devised a scheme to fraudulently deprive the citizens of Perry County of their right to his honest services as the elected Commonwealth's attorney, including or through bribery. On multiple occasions, Blair agreed to take official actions in his position as the Commonwealth's attorney, including making recommendations on probation, drug court, and probation violations or sanctions for defendants he was prosecuting in exchange for math and sexual favors. Under federal law, Blair must serve 85% of his prison sentence. Upon his release from prison, he will be under the supervision of the U.S. Probation Office for 3 years. Carlton S. Shearer IV, United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Kentucky, Michael E. Stansbury, Special Agent in Charge, FBI Louisville Field Division, Russell Coleman, Kentucky Attorney General, and Colonel Philip J. Burnett, Jr., Commissioner of the Kentucky State Police, jointly announced this statement. The investigation was conducted by the FBI, the Kentucky Attorney General's Office, and the KSP. Assistant U.S. Attorney Justin Blankenship is prosecuting the matter on behalf of the United States. Okay. Now, I wanted to go look up what honest services fraud is and what does it mean, because I'd never heard of that. Now, I've heard of public officials being charged with bribery or, something like that. But I'd not heard of this before. Have you? I welcome all the comments. Please give me your take on this stuff because it just absolutely shocks me. All right. This case highlights serious concerns about ethics in our local government and the trust that citizens place in their leaders. This official was found guilty of honest services fraud, which involves just what we said, bribery, abusing his position, abusing his authority. I mean, you name it. Let's see. The verdict was reached. I had written some notes here, so let me see. This conviction serves as a reminder that no one is above the law, or at least they shouldn't be. But here in southeastern Kentucky, if you're in those circles, you don't have to worry about a thing. And I don't know if anybody has noticed, but a lot of the interviews and stuff that I have seen with all of these big news reporters coming into town and trying to interview people, just the local people, everybody is scared to death. They're terrified of saying the wrong thing. I saw a video. I mean, it was I think it was Court TV actually, and they were in front of the bank right across the street from the courthouse here in Letcher County when everything went down with our judge and sheriff, and everybody is scared to death to talk. The little girl she couldn't wait to get out of there. Like, she just kept turning her head and kept trying to walk away. And people are just scared. They're scared to say anything because we have to live here. And if you say the wrong thing and make the wrong person mad, then everybody's afraid of retaliation of some kind. It's crucial for our democracy that public officials are held accountable for their actions. And it's not like anybody is trying to attack them for something that they have not done, you know. And even when they've been charged and convicted of things, people are still afraid to speak out. This incident with Blair, it really raises questions. And even with what happened, I've got something flying around my eye and it's bothering me. I'm sorry. This incident with our judge and our sheriff, all these kinds of situations really raise the question about oversight in our local government. Who's overseeing these people? Do you know? Are there systemic issues that need addressing to prevent such misconduct in the future? Because I think so. All right. Honest services fraud is a crime defined, and this is according to Wikipedia, is a crime defined 18 USC 1346. It's the federal mail and wire fraud statute added by the United States Congress in 1988, which states, for the purpose of this chapter, the term scheme and artifice to defraud includes a scheme or artifice to deprive another of an intangible right of honest services. The statute has been applied by federal prosecutors in cases of public corruption, as well as in cases in which private individuals breached a fiduciary duty to another. In the former, the courts have divided on the question of whether a state law violation is necessary for honest services fraud to have occurred. In the latter, the courts have taken differing approaches to determine whether a private individual has committed honest services fraud. Okay, but this is a public official. All right, let's read this one. This is from Kentucky.gov. So this must be our governor's page. All right. And it says, Attorney General Coleman calls for resignation of Perry County Commonwealth's attorney arrested by the FBI. This was April 12th, 2024. Attorney General Russell Coleman released the following statement after the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Kentucky, Carlton S. Scheer IV, announced the arrest of Commonwealth's attorney for the 33rd Judicial District, Scott Blair. The Perry County official was charged with federal honest services wire fraud. And that's all he was charged with. I don't know. It just makes me think that they've just charged him with the lowest thing that they could charge. As Attorney General, I have a responsibility to uphold the rule of law and protect families across Kentucky, including those I was elected to serve in Perry County. This individual, like all Americans, is presumed innocent until proven guilty. However, prosecutors cannot be effective if they violate the public trust. Given the serious accusations of abusing his office to assist criminals in exchange for rugs and sexual favors, the public good demands that Scott Blair immediately resign. Finally, I want the families in Perry County to rest assured that they will not be without a felony prosecutor at any point. Our office, along with law enforcement partners and prosecutors across the Commonwealth, will step in to protect this community and uphold the rule of law. Wow. Yes, best not to talk if you have firsthand knowledge. You saw it with your own eyes, heard it with your ears, then keep quiet. Unless you saw it yourself or heard it, keep quiet. That's right. That's exactly right. But, in every town and in every county, there's always gossip and there's always rumors. And, you know, it's just really, really, but this, of course, is not a rumor. This man was convicted. So, and I just thought it was very, kind of creepy and suspicious that I had not heard this. I had not heard anything about this case at all. And then when I went back and looked at our local newspaper, there was not anything. There wasn't no articles at all about this guy. Okay, now I just wanted to let you see where these towns are. So this is Letcher County. This is where I am. This is Harlan County. This is Cumberland. Cumberland's in Harlan County. So this whole part right here is Harlan County. This is Letcher County. And this right here, where my pointer is Hazard. This is Perry County. So you can see how close all of these areas are. You've got Harlan County, Letcher County, and Perry County. And that's kind of just a little map to show you how close we all are geographically. And so, let's see, I'm not going to... okay, there's one more here found. This one is from the Lexington Herald Leader. Like I said, it was kind of hard to find. It was kind of hard to find articles about this case because let's see if it's going to let me read it. There we go. All right. A former Kentucky prosecutor who admitted to helping people in court in exchange for schmecks and math was sentenced Thursday to 4 years and 6 months in prison. And he's only going to have to serve 85% of that. For doing what he did for 4 years. And they have evidence of that. Like, that is what he was charged with. He was committing these acts for 4 years, and they have evidence of 5 victims, and he only got 4.5 years. And he'll only have to serve 85% of that. And I showed you where I live, and I had not even heard about this case. So some cases the newspaper will write about, and some of them they won't. Scott Blair, 52, was Commonwealth's attorney for Perry County when the FBI and Kentucky State Police began investigating allegations that he was abusing his position, according to an affidavit filed in the case. As Commonwealth's attorney, Blair prosecuted felony criminal cases. He was elected to the position in 2019. The investigation turned up several examples of Blair using his position to recommend probation or drug treatment for people facing drug charges rather than prison time, or not moving to send someone to jail on a parole violation in exchange for quantities of meth, procurement of meth, and sexual favors, according to his guilty plea. In one example, Blair acknowledged telling someone in a Facebook conversation that he wouldn't recommend revoking the person's probation for missing a court date. then asked the person to come over for schmecks. Blair sent the person a message saying, "You should know I watch out for you." According to an affidavit from Zachary Bryson, a state police officer who investigated as part of an FBI task force. Blair pleaded guilty to one charge of honest services wire fraud, meaning he deprived people of the honest services he owed them as an elected official. And he used electronic communications such as Facebook as part of the crime. Blair faced a sentence between 46 and 57 months under advisory guidelines. There he is. That's a picture of Mr. Blair. Scott Blair was Commonwealth's attorney for Perry County, Kentucky, before he was charged with trading favors for math and schmecks. Oh, of course. His attorney, Ned Pillersdorf, said that Blair had been a good prosecutor, but was undone by his severe, long-standing depression and addiction to math, which clouded his judgment. That's how I found out about this case. I'd forgot. Blair's salary was about $120,000 a year, but he is in debt, Pillersdorf said in the memo. It is clear that his various math suppliers are the cause of Mr. Blair's insolvent state, Pillersdorf said. Blair told U.S. District Judge Robert E. Weir at the hearing Thursday that he had tried more than 24 medications for depression without lasting success before turning to math in desperation. "I'm not a bad person. I'm just a person who made mistakes," he said. Pillersdorf sought a sentence at the bottom of the guidelines. Of course he did. 3 years and 10 months, noting that Blair quickly accepted responsibility and has lost his career and has been publicly humiliated. Supporters of Blair, including educators, business owners, church members, and attorneys, filed 120 pages of letters with the court seeking leniency for him. They described Blair's compassion, generosity, and kindness, his work to help people through their court system, his support for charitable causes, and his work on community organizations such as the Salvation Army and a facility for abused children. One woman whose son died of a rug overdose said Blair helped her set up a booth at a community event to educate people on the dangers of the F word, the bad rug that's been going around. Another said he bought an air conditioner for an elderly lady, and another recalled him offering to pick up groceries and medication when she came down with COVID-19 on Thanksgiving. Well, it sounds to me like he's just a normal person, because everybody that I know just about it have done those very same things, and it's just called being a good human being. It's called being a good person. You don't have to be a Commonwealth attorney. Sorry, I'm just a little upset about it. Scott is a genuinely good person who became engulfed in the throes of addiction, Michael Mulligan Deaton said in a letter. But the prosecutor, Assistant U.S. Attorney Justin E. Blankenship, said during the hearing that Blair was living two lives. One was the public life the supporters saw, and the other was a private one in which he victimized people who were vulnerable because of their rug addiction and legal troubles, Blankenship said. Exactly. The court system became a hunting ground for Blair, the prosecutor said, where he used his power over people he was prosecuting to involve them in getting math for him, perpetuating the harm of the corrosive rug he was supposed to be fighting against, and to coerce them to perform schmeck's acts. He's such a good guy. He's such a good dude. One victim who submitted a letter to the court said Blair had him pick up math for him and said he wanted to perform a schmeck's act on the victim. Blair held the threat of jail over the man's head. Of course he did. So he felt he didn't have a choice, according to his statement, which the prosecutor and judge cited in court. And he still only got 4 years? Are you joking me? This is the problem in this area, y'all. This is it right here in a nutshell. And our newspaper didn't even report on it? Are you joking? I had to go to the Lexington Herald Leader to find this. His lawyer, Ned Pillersdorf, gave an interview on court TV about Judge Mullins and Mickey Steins, and they asked him about Mickey resigning as sheriff. And he said that, he recommended that he probably should because he's represented many officials in this area. And that was one of the biggest things the first things that he would recommend is that they go ahead and resign, because judges really didn't look kindly on it when you came in front of them still trying to act as the acting sheriff or still trying to be in that position. He was saying you need to go ahead and resign. And so that's where I found out about this case, was through Pillersdorf's interview on Judge Mullins and Mickey Steins. So I had to go look for it, and I found it. Blair held the threat of jail over the man's head, so he felt he didn't have a choice, according to his statement, which the prosecutor and judge cited in court. He held my life in his hands, so I'd done whatever he told me to do, the victim wrote. In sentencing Blair, Weir said he deserved credit for the good he had accomplished. He's a predator, is what he was. But the judge said Blair violated the oath he took to uphold the law, abused his office, and exploited the weak in pursuit of his own desires, and corroded the public trust that is vital to the integrity of the court system. Weir said that while he believed most public officials try to do the right thing, the history of Kentucky suggests some public officials are vulnerable to the temptation to abuse their offices because there's no oversight. And that the sentence for Blair must send a message that such conduct is intolerable. Well, you didn't send much of a message giving him 4 years. Sorry. Weir acknowledged Blair had struggled with mental health problems and addiction, but said that did not rob him of the ability to make rational decisions. He also rejected any idea that Blair was a victim or simply made a mistake, saying Blair engaged in intentional criminality. You were victimizing others, Weir said. Blair has been in jail since he was arrested in April and will get credit for that time against his sentence. Blair could cut a year off his sentence if he qualifies for a drug treatment program in prison and completes it, meaning he could be out in about 3 years, Pillersdorf said. Blair resigned as Commonwealth's attorney soon after being arrested. Now, my question is, why is he not being held as a schmeck's offender? Let's get to these comments. Let's see. Some gossip is completely false and political in nature, so where there's smoke, there's fire doesn't always apply in politics. It was on WYMT. Well, that's not the Mountain Eagle. People were shocked about Blair, had no clue. Everyone loved him. He had lost weight, the only clue. So, there you go. And it just really, really upsets me to no end because this is a this is starting to become very common in this area. And if you say anything, you get in trouble. So, but I'm just going to cut this live off at him. There's several others that I want to go into, but I'm just going to let this live be about this case. And give me your comments. What do you think? What do you think about the political scene in this area? And I don't mean politics. I'm not talking about Republican or Democrat. I don't mean that at all. What I'm talking about are public officials abusing their power or their position for personal gain. I mean, we're all human beings. We all make mistakes. But when we are elected to a position such as a Commonwealth attorney, there's a certain standard there that you must meet. You have to. And so it's just really upset me, the whole thing. Tell me what you think. So I'll see you next time. If you don't care, if you like it, subscribe to the channel. Put a like on the video if you do. And I'll see you on the next one, okay? Have a great day, y'all. Bye.